What if the daughter you sacrificed everything for was secretly planning to steal your house and throw you into a nursing home? Before you judge, listen to my story, and don't forget to subscribe for more shocking, true-life revenge stories like this one. The crash echoed like thunder in the kitchen. A planter had slipped from my trembling hands, scattering black soil across the white tiles. Among the shards, something metallic gleamed, a USB drive hidden deep in the soil. My heart pounded. Why would my daughter Amelia bury such a thing? She had warned me sternly before leaving for her business trip. "Don't move anything, especially the big planter in the kitchen, Mom. Just water the plants." Her tone had been colder than I cared to admit. I was only trying to give her plants more light. I never imagined that one clumsy moment would uncover a secret that would destroy everything I thought I knew about her. I am Margaret Lawson. I'm 72 years old. And until 3 days ago, I believed I knew my only daughter. I believed a lifetime of sacrifice, working double shifts, pawning the last jewelry I inherited, living off beans so she could have steak, had created a bond no one could break. But betrayal has a way of cutting deeper than any knife. With shaking knees, I carried the USB drive downstairs to my neighbor, Carol. She had a computer. I barely knew how to use my phone. "Can you help me with this?" I asked, my voice trembling. Carol inserted the drive. The screen filled with folders, photos, documents, chat logs. My blood chilled as we opened the first file. Pictures of my house, every room, the garden, the facade, professional shots like a real estate listing. Then the documents, the deed to my home. Only, the name on it wasn't mine. It was Amelia's. I gasped. That can't be. But it was. 6 months ago, my daughter had transferred my house into her name. My house, the one I worked 30 years for, was no longer mine. And worse, in the contracts folder, I saw it listed for sale. Carol's face twisted with pity as she clicked into a chat log between Amelia and someone named Todd Real Estate. My daughter's words seared me like acid. "The papers have been in my name for months. The old lady has no idea. Once I close the deal, I'll send her to a nursing home. I'm done pretending I love her." The old lady. That's what she called me. Not Mom. Not Mother, just the old lady. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't cry. My heart cracked open, but I forced myself to keep reading. Amelia had plotted this for months. Fake trips. Lies about protecting the house from taxes. Whispered promises while she led me to sign documents I didn't understand. I staggered back to her apartment with the USB in my pocket, the weight of it like a curse. That night, I stared at the ceiling, replaying every sacrifice I had made. The night shifts cleaning offices when she was sick. The gold earrings I sold so she could have a proper quinceañera. The years I ate leftovers so she could have steak. And the words she once said, "Mommy, I'll always take care of you." Lies. The next day she called me. "Hi, Mom. How are the plants?" Her voice was warm, sweet. Fake. "Everything's fine, dear," I lied back, steadying my voice. "Perfect," she chirped. "I'll be back in 3 days." Love you. Love me. The same lips that wrote about locking me in a nursing home said love you as easily as breathing. I stared into the mirror. A wrinkled, gray-haired woman looked back. But behind the years, I saw something else in my eyes. Fire. Rage. The kind that only a mother scorned can carry. For 72 years, I had survived poverty, loss, heartbreak. Amelia thought she was clever, thought she could rob me blind and throw me away like garbage. But she had forgotten the most important lesson of all. I raised her. And the woman who raised her was not weak. She was about to learn what happens when a mother's love turns into a mother's vengeance. The next morning, I didn't waste time crying. I woke with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. Amelia thought she'd caged me, that I'd meekly shuffle into whatever facility she picked. But she had underestimated the woman who once scrubbed floors 16 hours a day so her child could have a future. My first stop was the property records office. The clerk, young enough to be my granddaughter, returned with a folder. Her expression softened when she looked at me. "Ma'am, your home isn't yours anymore. Ownership was transferred 8 months ago to Amelia Lawson." The words were a dagger, but also a confirmation. I requested certified copies of everything. My signature was on the papers, scribbled in trusting ignorance. I remembered the day, Amelia's sweet smile, her assurance that it was just to protect the house from taxes. She had fooled me. But deception leaves a trail. And I now had proof. Next, I walked into a lawyer's office. Mr. Robert Whitaker, a gray-haired man with kind eyes. I slid the copies across his desk, then added the USB. "My daughter tricked me," I said, my voice low but steady. He scanned the documents, his jaw tightening. "Mrs. Lawson, this isn't just betrayal. This is fraud. Document fraud. And it's a criminal offense. With this evidence, we can challenge the transfer, freeze her accounts, and stop the sale." Freeze her accounts? My heart lifted for the first time in days. He nodded. "If money from the sale moves into her account, we can seize it. But we must act fast." For years, I had walked hunched with fatigue, bent by sacrifice. Now I sat taller, stronger. Amelia thought she was cunning, but I had something better justice on my side. By the time I left Robert's office, I had signed forms to begin the case. The first domino had fallen. That evening, Amelia returned from her trip. Her heels clicked across the marble floor as she swept into the apartment, all fake cheer. "Mom, I'm home. Did you take good care of everything?" I forced a smile. "I learned a lot while you were gone. Computers, documents, even USB drives." She froze for half a second before slipping her mask back on. "That's great, Mom. It's never too late to learn." Oh, but it was too late for her. At dinner, she tried to start the conversation she had rehearsed for months. "Mom, we need to talk about your future." "There's a facility." "Yes," I interrupted calmly. "We do need to talk. About the house. About the papers I signed." Her smile faltered, her voice lowered. "Mom, it's complicated. You wouldn't understand." "Then explain it," I snapped, my eyes locking onto hers. Her mask slipped completely. "Fine. Yes, the house is in my name. Yes, I'm selling it. It's for your own good, Mom. You can't keep living alone in that old place. This way, I'll make sure you're cared for." Cared for. That's how she spun her betrayal. I feigned confusion, letting her think I was still pliable. "If you think it's best, dear, I trust you." Her shoulders relaxed, a satisfied smile curling on her lips. She thought the old fool was beaten, but I had already struck the first blow. The next morning, I told her I needed to visit the bank before moving. She agreed to accompany me, phone in hand, texting who I guessed was her accomplice. But when we arrived, Robert, my lawyer, was waiting inside with the bank manager. "Mrs. Lawson," he greeted me warmly. Then, turning to my daughter, Miss Lawson, "We have sufficient evidence of fraud. Your accounts are frozen. Any funds tied to the sale of this property will be seized." Amelia blinked, stunned. "This is ridiculous." "My mother's confused. She's old. She doesn't understand." Robert slid the printed chat logs across the desk, her words in black and white. "The old lady doesn't suspect a thing. Once I sell the house, I'll dump her in a nursing home and disappear." Amelia's face went white. I leaned forward, my voice cold but steady. "You thought I was weak. You thought I was too old to fight back. But you were wrong." For once, she had no answer. We left the bank with power shifted entirely. I had my lawyer, my evidence, and the law on my side. She had nothing but excuses. That night, she knocked on the guest room door. "Mom, please. Let's forget all this. I'll give you the house back. We can move past this." I opened the door just enough for her to see my face. "Forget? Like you planned to forget me on Monday when you left me in a nursing home?" "No, Amelia. This time, you'll face consequences." Her eyes filled with tears. But for the first time, I felt nothing. No maternal instinct to comfort her. No urge to forgive. Only justice. The days that followed were a storm Amelia never saw coming. For years she had moved through life as if every step she took was planned, as if she were always 10 moves ahead of everyone else. But this time she hadn't accounted for one thing, that her 72-year-old mother had finally decided to fight back. My lawyer, Robert Whitaker, moved swiftly. The fraudulent transfer of the house was legally nullified. Every form, every signature, every manipulation she had hidden behind was now nothing more than evidence against her. My home. The house I scrubbed floors and washed laundry to pay for, the place where I tucked her into bed, where I worked my fingers raw to give her a future, was mine again. Not hers, mine. Her accounts were frozen. The sale she had lined up was blocked. The beautiful empire she had dreamed of, built on lies and betrayal, began to crumble. And as her world collapsed, Amelia did what she always did best. She tried to charm, to manipulate, to worm her way back into control. She called me endlessly, dozens of times a day. When I ignored her calls, she left messages dripping with fake remorse. "Mom, I was under so much stress. I didn't know what I was doing. Please, you're all I have left. Don't do this to me." But her words were empty. I had read her real ones. The old lady doesn't suspect a thing. I'm tired of pretending I love her. That was the truth, not these pitiful voicemails. Then came the night she appeared at my doorstep in person. I had just finished watering my garden when I saw her standing there in the fading light. Her hair was tangled, her eyes red and swollen from sleepless nights. Gone was the polished, successful woman she loved to parade to the world. What stood before me was a desperate, broken liar. "Please, Mom," she whispered through the gate, gripping the bars as if they were her last chance at survival. "Please don't do this. You're my only family." "I'll change, I swear. Just give me another chance." I studied her face. I looked for the little girl I once held, the one who promised me she'd always take care of me. But I didn't see her. All I saw was a stranger wearing my daughter's name. "My daughter died the day she decided her mother was nothing but a burden," I said flatly. "You are not her. You're just a stranger." Her knees buckled, and she crumpled onto the pavement, sobbing into her hands. But I felt no pity. For once in 72 years, I respected myself more than I pitied anyone else. Weeks passed, and the court proceedings moved forward like a slow, grinding wheel of justice. Amelia's accomplice, her real estate agent friend, quickly turned on her. To save himself, he handed over every detail of their scheme, every text, every plan. His confession was the final nail in her coffin. The court didn't send her to prison, but she didn't escape unscarred either. She received 2 years of probation, heavy fines, and a permanent criminal record. She would never again be the successful, flawless Amelia she had worked so hard to project. She had thought she would erase me. Instead, she had erased herself. I, on the other hand, began to live again. For the first time in decades, I woke without fear. Each morning I walked into my garden, the soil under my feet no longer poisoned by betrayal but renewed by freedom. I planted fresh flowers, daisies, roses, tulips, that bloomed defiantly under the sun. Their colors reminded me of something important. I wasn't done living. My story wasn't over. Afternoons became filled with small joys I had long neglected. Carol, my neighbor, came by for coffee nearly every day. We shared laughter, traded stories, even made plans for little outings. Sometimes Robert visited, not with papers to sign, but just to sit and talk. A lawyer at first, but over time, simply a kind man who enjoyed my company. His presence reminded me of something Amelia never understood. Companionship doesn't always come from blood. Sometimes it comes from people who choose to care. Months later, Amelia returned one last time. This time, she wasn't alone. She brought a new lawyer with her, a slick-talking man in a pressed suit who carried himself as though he could talk the sun into setting early. "Mrs. Zirio." "Lawson," he called through the door, "we believe there were irregularities in the previous proceedings. If you cooperate, we may be able to reach an agreement that benefits both you and your daughter." I didn't even bother opening the door. I simply stood behind it and spoke loud enough for them to hear. There is no agreement. There is nothing left to discuss. The case is closed. The consequences were already applied. Amelia's voice cracked, trembling like glass. Mom, please, don't shut me out. I've thought about everything. I know I hurt you, but I want to fix it. I'll take care of you this time, I promise. Her words rang hollow, like a bad actress fumbling lines she no longer believed. I leaned my hand against the door, steadying my voice. Do you know what your biggest mistake was, Amelia? It wasn't stealing my house. It wasn't plotting to discard me like trash. It was underestimating the woman who raised you. You thought I was weak. You thought I was too old, too confused, too naive to fight back. That mistake will follow you for the rest of your life. Silence fell on the other side. Then I heard the shuffle of footsteps retreating, slow and heavy. I knew, finally, she was gone for good. That night, I sat at my kitchen table, my kitchen, in my house, listening to the stillness. The ache of loneliness I once feared never came. Instead, I felt something I hadn't in years, peace, because I finally understood. I didn't lose a daughter. I lost an illusion. And in exchange, I gained something far greater. I gained dignity, freedom, self-respect. For 72 years, I lived believing that love from others gave me worth, that as long as Amelia loved me, I had purpose. But now I knew the truth. My worth was never hers to give or take. It was mine all along. So now, when I water my garden, I smile. The flowers bloom bright, not in the soil of betrayal, but in the soil of self-respect. And as the petals turn to face the sun, I realize that I, too, have turned. Not toward loss, but toward life. And I will never, ever let anyone bury me in the shadows again. If this story shook you, subscribe now. Because sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't shouting or fighting. It's living with dignity, proving that no betrayal can erase your worth. And trust me, the next story will leave you speechless.